Hello, you're welcome to ABC Highlights. My name is Golda Abba Dai.
And my name is Nana Kwame Rube.
Here we bring you news on happenings in the country, on the continent, and across the globe. As usual, we're bringing you a whirlwind of stories from the field of politics, governance, and entertainment. Right into our first story. So there was a story trending on TikTok, Nana. It was an American journalist who was drawing our attention to it as Ghanaians. There's a company known as Mikaso's Spanish Design, which is located around Spintex, and they had some interesting requirements for hiring a showroom manager. So I'm going to read it. You must have a master's degree, at least 3 to 5 years of proven working experience in showroom management. That is normal. The candidate must have the ability to analyze and judge, plan ability, decision making ability, the basic things that you require. It is the last portion that you do our attention to. And it says the applicant should be a European, Indian, or Lebanese. And he was saying that as a continent that is has a majority of Africans, Black Africans here, we shouldn't be tolerating racism. Nana, how do you feel about maybe wanting to apply for a job and you go and they tell you that you're not qualified, but someone of another race is better qualified for the job?
Um, of course, it's not right, but it's not surprising. I think the rage came from a diaspora because most Ghanaians know that this thing happens. Like, there's a level of multinational vulturism in our industries that people that the multinationals are swallowing up industries. It's not new. If you go to industries or even restaurants owned by Lebanese, Indian, or European people, the manager is mostly not Ghanaian. So it is not surprising. However, I think the only thing that is different is this person was bold enough.
To say that I want people
Exactly, and printed very bold on the board.
For me, Nana, it is the audacity and the nerve. You are on an African continent. You want to hire Europeans, Lebanese, Nana laugh, Lebanese, and what? Indians. And I know there's some door to door where people come and make the argument that the door to there, cheddar, they are black Africans and black Americans and all that. But I think it is absolutely ridiculous. You want to hire Indians, Europeans, and Lebanese, then go back to your country, then hire those races, then we don't have a problem with it. Nana, Africa is diverse. We hire all kinds of people. But I think our government has to make a conscious effort to deal with this colorism and racism issue. You walk into an institution and someone who has your same skin color, Ghanaian, will see you frown, give you a certain kind of attitude. They see someone of another race, maybe a lighter skin tone, and they start showing all their teeth, like by virtue of their race, they're better human beings than you are. So I have a couple of questions. I would love to know, what they call these kinds of laws that involve a foreign company coming into our country to run a business. First, do the laws exist that protect our people and, the country? Is there a law that, says something along the lines of, okay, so if you're a foreigner, you come into this country, when you're hiring people, 70% of them must be Ghanaians, 50% of them must be Ghanaians. If you overwork them, underpay them, abuse them, you pay a fine so crazy, your company will crumble. I want to know, like, are there things like that that protect us? Because I find it very ridiculous that, these people have this notion that they're superior and they come into this country, misbehave, and want to get away with it. We've seen a company, collapse, people have died, no repercussions for it. We've heard, people of other races come to this country, they mistreat our workers. You see something about it on the news, and then it is done. Did you hear the story about the Rwandan president sending about 30, I think 30 people, something Chinese people back to their country because they thought they should come to an African country and abuse the people? Why can't our country do things like that?
As far as I know, and we would love an expert at note on it. So if you know you're an expert, you can let us in the comment section. But then, as far as I know, there are labor laws against workplace discrimination and things that could come off as racist. So any form of workplace discrimination is not something that is legal in the country. However, I'm not very sure about the percentage of employed Ghanaians because there is a thin line between xenophobia and protecting the rights of the workplace rights of your people, as in saying that an entity should hire a certain percentage of locals So I'm not very sure about that. But just to say, to add to what you're saying, it is true. We need laws in place to check discrimination against our own. But then that's the thing about capitalism. It's a free market. So people come, and if they have the right or license to operate, they employ people they deem fit under the umbrella of competence.
Okay, but you see, Nana, I don't even want to go into the conversation where we're about to think about if you go to other countries, how many African companies do you see there? How many African shows do you see on the country? That is a whole different conversation, but it tells you that racism does exist. We
Exactly.
are not saying our country should mistreat people. We don't do that. We're hospitable people and kind. But I think laws should be in place where we protect our own so that people don't come from outside and see that, oh, I mean, their own people treat them this way, so we can do whatever we want.
Exactly. I think it's a conversation worth having.
Yes,
And also, even beyond race, colorism also.
it is. It exists very much
Exactly. So we have even local industries employing people of lighter skin.
because they appeal to, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We appeal to customers. So colorism and racism is very huge. It's an important conversation we all need to have. But just like Abba said, we need laws in place to protect workers, whether of any race, whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're Asian. If you are in a place of labor where you are providing services, your manager, your employer should have a certain form of decorum, should have a
Yes.
certain form of
You deserve to be treated
exactly
with
way to
respect.
treat you. So it's very important that we put those laws in place. And that was a very heavy way of discussing it
It is.
because here Abba was very passionate.
I am.
Abba was extremely passionate about the story, as she should be, because it is very like sad to see racism on the shores of America, and that you would argue that is the history. That's how it's always been. But on our lands, where our institution is meant to protect us, on our land we are supposed to feel at home. On our land we are supposed to feel like we belong. It's extra sad. It is more sad that we have to go through these by foreign business owners that we have given the license, the opportunity to expand their businesses and operate on our land. I think yeah, it's a conversation that's very much important and worth having. So let us have it in the comment section, guys. Let us know what you think. Share our, I mean, you're in the middle of the video, share and subscribe to our channel and cause your friends to also have this important conversation with us. Exactly. We're moving on to our next story. A conversation that I must say Ghanaians may be wary of having. Ghanaians may be tired of hearing, fellow Ghanaians, I come into your home. But on 28th of May, the President, His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, on his 29th presidential address to the nation, came to our homes again, calling famously fellow Ghanaians to listen to him as he wraps up the update on COVID-19. And he made a lot of statements.
He did. I've got quite a few here.
Exactly. He did talk about the IMF later on, but in the beginning of his speech, he goes on to thank his compatriots, thank us, the citizens, thank all the frontline workers for bringing us out of the heat of the pandemic that the COVID-19 was. He went ahead to also state that due to the washing of our hands and the increased hygiene, we've recorded less
cholera outbreak.
Actually, yes, there's not been a cholera outbreak
in 3 years.
3 years.
Yes.
Exactly, and we've recorded less other diseases. So basically, he also advised us to keep it in our habits and make it part of our lifestyles in a way to also live healthy. He then went on to also talk about the fact that, but he did say that the hospitalization, taking care of people.
It's here. He says that the testing of the millions who went to public laboratories, quarantine of arrivals from outside the country, hospital admissions, treatments, and feeding for all patients were publicly funded.
Exactly. And this brought a lot of questions. People were asking, what about the airports? You did take money for the airports, but to provide some form of clarity to that, the money taken from travelers at the airport was not for cost of quarantine or
that was for testing.
Exactly, it was just for testing, and there were mandatory tests that you have to do when you're coming to Ghana, and you had to do it. So then that wasn't for even hospitalization or taking care of positive people found positive. He did go on to talk about IMF, which a lot of people were expecting to hear more on, but the president was pretty concise about what he decided to share.
Is
I mean, he didn't say anything we haven't heard before. He went on to thank his vice president
he
for
did.
being a form of support and shoulder for him through these difficult times. And also, he said, access to the IMF is in no way an indication that we are spelling the end of
Oh.
our current economic woes.
Yes, he says that access to the IMF facilities will not spell the immediate end of the difficulties we are in presently. So it means we've got a little battle to deal with before we can come out of the woods.
Exactly. But he did pat himself and his government on the back when he talked about the fact that Ghana and IMF negotiation is a record um, time that any country has wrapped up negotiations with the IMF. I think it took about 8 months to do that, and that is something worth celebrating for him and his government. But even before he went on, he came on our screens. I remember the people on Twitter personally were just talking about how we already know how this is going to go.
Yeah, I think I saw one where, someone listed what to expect of the speech, and honestly, it was the truth.
Exactly.
It
Was there
came
something
across.
you wanted to hear that you didn't hear?
Or did I want to hear that I didn't hear? Well, no, no, he actually said it, but what I want to know is the 600 million, the 3 billion. Like, what exactly is it going to be used for? Is it that they're now going to think about what to do with it, so they'll tell us later, or we won't know, and then I would like to know exactly what the money is. I mean, obviously they're going to say, "Oh, we're going to revamp the economy, put it in a better place." What is going to be done to revamp the economy? I want to know
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. I think I personally also would like to see some form of honest acceptance of the reality that Ghana
It's
is
facing.
facing.
All right, all
I
right.
mean, yeah, we are looking to the future of possibilities. We are looking at the efforts you're going to put in to revamp the economy. But can you look in the face of Ghanaians and tell us we are in a downpour that, and I understand your pain. It is not just about the future. The present is daunting, and we are here with you. I was looking for that form of assurance.
Well, we shall see if we'll get that assurance. Okay, well, the address is done, but he still speaks to the public,
The
so
only
hopefully.
assurance that we all seem to have gotten was the fact that the president can speak multiple languages, and that sort of assures us that he stands with us even in our most natural places.
All right, so this story just came out. I don't think it's been more than an hour. Forgive me if I butcher the name. Yoweri Museveni, the president of Uganda, just passed the anti-LGBTQI bill into law. So basically, now there's a death sentence. You could go to prison for 10 years for just identifying as someone from the LGBTQI group. Anna, how are you feeling about your fellow African country passing the bill?
First of all, I think it is important to note that it is one of the most harsh anti-laws passed against the LGBTQ plus community. And just to add a bit of clarity to it, so the Anti-Homosexuality Act 2023, which just passed, actually calls for the death penalty for aggravated homosexuality.
What is aggravated
Exactly, which
homosexuality?
is defined as cases of same-sex relations involving people who are HIV positive, as well as with minors and other categories of vulnerable people.
Okay.
Anyone else who engages in gay sex could face life imprisonment if convicted.
Okay.
I think a lot of people have talked about Western influence in policymaking on the continent, and that conversation has always directed into pro-LGBTQ plus involvement. People think that, oh, the West is causing Africa to accept LGBTQ plus, but there's a very heavy right-wing investment in African countries that influence policymaking that way. And Uganda personally has been recorded to receive hefty amounts of donations from right-wing anti-LGBTQ plus organizations. So what do I personally think about it? I think Africa, and I speak for the continent, and every other African country must find a way to protect and sustain culture while still protecting the citizens. Because regardless of sexual orientation, they are the people you promised and sworn oath to protect.
I see. Well, we're still deliberating on ours in this country, so I am waiting to see which way we go. Are we
Yeah.
going to pass it, or we shall see.
Well, we wait to see.
We do.
Exactly. And that is all we have for you today. We're wrapping up. But do not forget to log on to abcnewsgh.com for your latest news, and on our social media platforms is at abcnewsgh_. Hit the subscribe button, hit the ring button to be notified whenever we post. Share, like our content, and
Comment.
follow us. And comment. Let us know what your favorite stories. Let us know your views on some of the stories or all of the stories if you can. My name is Nana Kwame Bobe.
My name is Gulda Abatai. See you.